Coming up in 19 minutes now to the top of the hour. On the day the Supreme Court wraps up its current term, Elena Kagan, the president's nominee to become the next High Court justice, goes before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Kagan is expected to win Senate confirmation, but as our next guest says, it is not going to be a, quote, coronation. Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions is the ranking Republican on the Judiciary Committee, and he joins us now live from Capitol Hill. Senator, thanks for being with us this morning. Before I ask you about Elena Kagan and the upcoming hearings, I wanted to get your thoughts, if I could, in the passing of Senator Robert Byrd.
You know, it's a sad day for all of us. There's no one who loved the institution of the Senate more, and no one who was a better student of it. He'd written books about it, Senate rules and history. He was a great orator, made a great speech one day that I heard and remember well on how to make a speech. And I used to catch him on Friday mornings when he would come down and talk about various things. One day he railed against textbooks, calling them touchy-feely twaddle. He was a remarkable man, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I agree or disagree with his politics. No question that he had an infectious passion for politics in America.
Yeah.
So today we begin the confirmation hearings for Elena Kagan to be the next Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. And you have said that a filibuster still might be possible here. Why haven't you taken that off the table?
Well, let's see how this hearing goes. I think that's the right approach. This nominee does have serious problems, John. She has the least experience of any nominee in 50 years. She was a Clinton operative for quite a number of years, the point person on efforts to restrict gun rights, a point person on blocking partial birth abortion. At Harvard, she barred the military from the recruiting offices, demeaned them in violation of law, and her legal brief was rejected 8-0 by the Supreme Court. There are a number of things here that cause us to believe, and any American to be concerned, that she would be an activist judge, someone willing to promote her agenda from the bench and not be objective, because her top judicial heroes have all been some of the most active judges in our history.
Yeah, you know, on that point, one of the so-called activist judges that she has praised is retired Israeli judge Aaron Barak. Many people have pointed to that as a sign that she may be an activist judge herself, but Aaron Barak, even though he said he disagreed with him on legal and philosophical grounds, also won praise from Antonin Scalia. So can you look at her praise of Aaron Barak and say, oh, she's going to be an activist judge, when conservative judges have praised him as well?
Well, she's closest and most admiring of American activist judges, but with regard to that, Justice Scalia and his praising him as a person clearly distinguished his view of the role of a judge from that of Judge Aaron Barak in Israel. She did not. She called him her hero, and she said he was a great, great judge without the qualifications, I think, that clearly should have been made there. This is a big deal. Judge Posner said his ideas are just outside the American tradition of law.
Yeah, I wanted to also ask you about this idea of legal experience. 5 years ago, Senator Sessions, you said this of a Supreme Court nominee, quote, "It is not necessary that she have previous experience as a judge in order to serve on the Supreme Court. It's perfectly acceptable to nominate outstanding lawyers to that position." You said that of President Bush's nominee to the Supreme Court, Harriet Miers. We all know what happened to her. But I'm wondering what's different between then and now, other than the fact that this is a Democratic nominee?
Well, I was a bit uneasy about Miers, but I did support her initially. She had 26 years of law practice and had worked in the White House a number of years. This nominee has only 2 or 3 years of practice, mostly academic and mostly political activities in government. This is the thinnest resume ever. She just hasn't had the depth of it. She's never tried a case, never cross-examined a witness before a jury. This is a severely limited level of experience, I think. You can overcome it, but it's clearly a deficiency.
You just a second ago, Senator Sessions, you pointed to Harriet Miers' White House experience as a qualifying factor, but you point to Elena Kagan's White House experience as a potential disqualifying factor. What's the difference?
I think a person who's worked as in the counsel's office in the White House does have some appreciation of some of the different kinds of issues that come before the court. But it's not the only thing. Most cases deal with lawsuits in cities and counties all over America. the kind of things that routine lawyers learn. She had both. She had 26 years of practice.
Yeah. And the experience that Elena Kagan has had as Solicitor General, is that enough for you?
No, it's only a little bit over a year, 14 months. She argued in one of her cases, and I think wrongly, that the Constitution would allow Congress to ban the publication of pamphlets before an election day.
Yeah.
She's intervened against Arizona's law that said a business should not hire illegal aliens, just like the federal law does. So I think her positions there are not so sound.
And one other point, it's well known, of course, many people have talked about this, that she wrote that the confirmation process for a Supreme Court judge is, quote, a vapid and hollow process. Are those words going to come back to haunt her in the next couple of days?
Well, you know, it is, sometimes that has been so. I think in the last two nominations, Alito and Roberts, they've been really good exchanges. She was talking about hearings before that.
Right.
So I think she will feel incumbent upon herself to be more open than a lot of nominees have. I hope we have a very good discussion. She's a good, academic. She should be able to handle the questions easily.
But you say, looking at some past hearings, she was actually right?
Yeah, some of the hearings, judges have virtually said nothing.
Yeah.
And they've I've been too restrained, I believe.
Well,
it's a balance you have to strike, and it's hard to do.
Well, a point of agreement there between you and the nominee. We look forward to the hearings today. Thanks so much, Senator. Good to talk to you this morning.
Thank you.
And CNN, of course, is going to have live coverage of the Kagan confirmation hearings beginning at noon Eastern.